Thank you, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to speak to you today and find that so many of you have been able to make it here despite the strike that is taking place today in Brussels. In fact, the Chairman provided a very good summary of my talk, so I might just skip my speech, but I will nevertheless develop and deepen some themes that he referred to. Before doing that, I would also like to thank my colleague Moira Geoghegan-Quinn, her cabinet DG Research, for inviting me here and for taking the initiative to organize this seminar. And I must say that the topic fostering efficiency, excellence and growth could not be more timely. It was the pivotal topic also at last week's ECOFIN Council when the finance ministers met here, and also in the Davos World Economic Forum, which ran most of last week. Very much focus on consolidation and growth, as well as, of course, education, innovation, employment. I would like to begin by saying a few words about the current rather difficult economic situation in Europe, because I think that is in your mind, and that is, of course, the main topic today in the European Council, which is convening on the other side of the road. While there has been some improvement in the market sentiment in recent weeks, several factors point to a moderate recession in the European economy, at least in the first half of this year. Confidence is still rather fragile among businesses, consumers and market participants. Unemployment remains worryingly high, especially amongst young people. A return to recovery and positive growth is likely to be pushed back to the second half of this year. This year will indeed be decisive for the economic recovery of Europe. One can say that last year we contained the crisis. This year we must resolve the crisis and thus create foundations for sustainable growth and better employment. I would also want to see that this year, 2012, will be the year when our strong monetary union will finally be complemented by an ever closer economic union, or stability union, fiscal union, which has to be conducive to sustainable growth and employment. And thus this year can be made the year when we see a profound transformation of EU economic governance to prevent any future repetition of the crisis that has so badly damaged our economies in the past years. Europe has taken policy actions to meet these bold goals. By and large, they are also on the agenda of the European Council today. So, what is being done and what will be done to this effect to meet these objectives? First, EU member states are now taking the necessary fiscal measures and moving ahead with structural reforms. Fiscal deficits are being reduced all over Europe, and we are seeing a wave of structural reforms in Europe as well. Second, the treaty on a new fiscal compact, stability union, will be finalized today. We almost finalized it last week already in the finance ministers meeting in the Eurogroup, but we will finalize it today, which will provide a profound long-term commitment to sound public finances. We will do much of the practical monitoring and surveillance on the basis of secondary legislation of the European Union, leaning on the community method, but this treaty as such is a very important political commitment by the national parliaments to sustainability of public finances and to a new stability culture in fiscal policy. Third, in parallel with the new fiscal compact, the treaty on the new permanent European stability mechanism has in fact already been sealed, and its start has been decided to be advanced, brought forward to July this year from July next year. Moreover, the combined sealing of the permanent ESM and the temporary European Financial Stability Facility will be revisited, reassessed by March, and in parallel we are also working to increase the resources of the International Monetary Fund in order to create a sufficiently strong financial firewall both in Europe and globally in order to contain the contagion and calm down the market turbulences. So we are working in parallel both on fiscal consolidation, stability culture, as well as on reinforcing the financial firewalls to ensure short to medium term stabilization of the European economy. And last but not least, talking about stabilization, the European Central Bank has taken very important, I would say, both necessary and adequate measures over liquidity provision to stabilize the EU banking system, which has indeed been essential to avoid any credit crunch in the European economy and to ensure the flow of credit to enterprises and households in Europe, which is a sine qua non of returning to recovery and growth. Building on these actions, we now have a chance to turn the corner and move from stabilization to boosting sustainable growth. We need investment and productivity, and we need to focus on education and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, the European research area plays a central role in such efforts to enhance sustainable growth. Europe 2020, which I'm sure you are familiar with, is our strategy for smart, sustainable and inclusive economy. And the Commission's annual growth survey from last November, 2 months ago, provides the short-term priorities of implementing the Europe 2020 growth agenda. The latest European Council in December already underlined the importance of structural reforms such as opening up closed professions and pressing ahead with the single market for services and with the digital single market. In particular, the completion of the single market now should remain a priority, a case in point being the Services Directive, which still waits for its transposition in several member states in different parts of Europe. In the sphere of innovation policy, following the EU patent, the foreseen European trademark system is an important element for a single innovation market. However, we need to push the frontier of the internal market further in areas that are currently still left out. For instance, going further by creating a more integrated healthcare sector through facilitating cross-border provision of health services or curbing fragmentation in pharmaceutical markets could help both restraining health expenditure in our aging societies and through increased competition foster innovation and efficiency. Decisive action in these EU-level measures would also show the readiness of the EU as a whole to assert its commitment to growth with a potentially favourable impact also on short-term confidence.